I've been flying drones ever since 2017, and my very first drone was the DJI Mavic Pro. That was such a good drone though. It actually had a vertical camera back then, and that is something that I don't even have on the DJI Air 3S today. But ever since then, I've been fortunate enough to try out the different iterations that DJI has released over the course of these years when it comes to camera-oriented drones. I've even tried their biggest and baddest camera drone, which is the DJI Inspire 3. That is one sick drone. And I also learned how to fly FPV drones with the DJI Avata when that was released, and there was a lot of practice going into that. But if you're thinking about starting up to actually practice FPV flying, then I highly recommend it, because when you know how to fly an FPV drone in manual mode, piloting one of these is going to be like a no challenge for you, no matter the situation. Trust me. But one of the best parts when it comes to these drones though is that you don't have to think that much when you're actually flying them. And in this video, we're going to talk about the differences between the DJI Air 3S and the DJI Mavic Pro 3 Pro. Mavic 3 Pro. So the first thing that I want to do is to take a look at the weight differences. DJI Mavic comes in at like 900 grams. 933 grams. That's actually pretty heavy. And the DJI Air 3S comes in at 719. That's around 210 grams of difference between the two drones, which is kind of weird because when you look at the drones side by side like this, it doesn't actually look that like the Mavic is heavier than the Air 3 all up until you get to the camera, because here you can see a big difference in the camera department. Looking at the camera of the DJI Mavic 3 Pro, you can see that we have three different lenses, which is basically 24mm, 70mm, and 166mm, which is wild. It really compresses the image. But the main camera sensor on this drone is a micro four thirds, which makes it incredibly good at captures light. And looking at the cameras on the DJI Air 3S, you can see that there's two of them. One at 70mm, which is one of the same cameras that we got on the Mavic 3. The other one is a 24mm, but with a smaller sensor. So this is the 1-inch sensor compared to the micro four thirds that we got on the Mavic 3. The advertised flight time of both of these drones is somewhere close to 45 minutes, but I'm gonna say that varies a whole lot depending on what kind of scenario that you're in and you're actually flying, because if you take any of these drones out in a windy day and it's cold outside, then you're probably gonna get 20 minutes, if even that, depending on your situation. But in general, they have just about the same flight time. When it comes to the built-in storage, the Air 3S has 42 gigabytes internal, which is actually kind of sick because all of a sudden you don't need to bring a memory card as long as you remember to format the drone whenever you've been out shooting. But the Mavic 3 Pro only has 8 gigabytes, unless you go for the Mavic 3 Pro Cine, which has 1,000 gigabytes, or 1 terabyte, as we say in the computer language. I'm not going to dive too deep into the specs of these two drones, because if you're watching this video, you probably know what these drones are capable of. But if you want to watch an in-depth review of the Air 3S, I'm going to drop a link in the description. So I've been flying the Mavic 3 ever since it was released back in 2021, if I remember correctly. It is one of those drones that upon arrival, it set a new standard. And I really like the fact that the Mavic 3 Pro has 3 different lenses, because I've been playing around with that to see if they actually provide any value or if they're more of a gimmick. When they first released it, I gotta say that I was a little bit skeptical of it, because it kind of felt like they could have made a bigger, better camera instead of having 3 different lenses. But now that I've been playing around with them, I gotta say that I like them a whole lot. When I got my hands on the DJI Air 3 a while back, I actually documented our house build together with that drone and shot the blasting off our property in slow-mo with the telelens. And the footage that you're seeing right now that came out of that looked incredibly good, in my opinion. One of the biggest downsides when it comes to the Air 3 series that I still have a big issue with is that we're not getting proper D-log. And this bumps me out a whole lot. I would have loved to see proper D-log in the Air 3S, because it's just something that I know that the 1-inch sensor is actually capable of getting. I think that one of the reasons why DJI has removed it and implemented the D-Log-M instead is because they don't want to confuse people with the different picture profiles, and D-Log-M is way easier to calibrate than what D-Log is. But I'm going to show you the difference, because in D-Log-M you don't get as much dynamic range in the shot when you compare it to D-Log. And when you're using D-Log, you get this really grayed out shot that looks more to the log profile of Sony cameras, and that is something that I personally love and like. Talking about log profiles, when you're using log profiles, you also need to use LUTs. And as you probably know, Artlist is one of the best resources for creators when it comes to anything that you might need for video creation. And now they even have LUTs available to download on their website. And for those of you that have never used LUTs, it's basically just a filter for your video to make it look good quickly. And they don't just have a few LUTs, they have a plethora of them. Let me show you how I would apply a LUT in Final Cut Pro. First off, we need to browse the vast library of LUTs that Artlist has to offer, and then when we find one that we like, we're going to click and download. And then we're going to search for the custom LUT effect in Final Cut Pro, and then we're going to drag that onto our clip. And then I'm going to choose the LUT that we just downloaded and apply that to the clip. Check this out. Huh? That's pretty sick before and after. And you're going to be able to download all the different LUTs and try them out on your own footage to find the one that you like the most. If you're still doubting about signing up for Artlist because they don't offer enough stuff for you, stop doubting. They have the sound effects, the LUTs, the music, the plugins. What else do we need? It's all there. One single site. Best site. 5 years at this point. When it comes to the image quality of these two drones, I can say that Mavic 3 is going to be the winner when you look at them side by side. It just looks so much better when you have proper D-Log. Do I use all the 3 lenses though? I'm going to say no. The 166mm feels like it could actually be removed in favor of bringing either a better main camera or a better telecamera. I feel like the 17mm focal length is sort of like a sweet spot of what kind of focal length that these drones should have. Of course, it's a great option and it totally depends on what it is that you're doing. But a couple of things that the Air 3S has brought to the playfield is one, obstacle avoidance, because that is sick. Now the Mavic 3 doesn't have a bad obstacle avoidance in any way or form. I mean, like, I remember when me and Terry went to Iceland and he believed that this drone wouldn't crash. Take a look at that drone right there. Listen to the beep, just enjoying the moment of obstacle avoidance beeping. So it's good, but this drone, the Air 3S, is on an entirely different level, but it also has a smart return to home function, which basically means that it follows its own track back to the starting point that you set to begin with. And that is something that I really hope is coming to the Mavic 3 Pro or the Mavic 4 whenever that is released. I think it's very hard to decide between these two drones because one is favoring, you know, the best image quality that the drones has to offer, and one is going to be the jack of all trades, I guess, and the master of avoidance. So if you're looking into buying a new drone today, I probably wouldn't go for the Mavic 3 Pro because I think that DJI might have something in store. I would look into getting the DJI Air 3S as my first drone or as the drone that I would use for client work. And I've actually taken the Air 3S out for a real client shoot, and the photos that are coming out of this thing looks incredibly good, mainly because we have a higher megapixel count on this than what we got on the Mavic 3 Pro. It's going to be depending on what it is that you want to do, what it is that you want to achieve. Do you need to have the best possible image quality that there is to offer in a drone? I mean, like, yeah, of course, there's always going to be better, but the Mavic 3 Pro is freaking amazing when it comes to images and videos. The Air 3S though, I'm gonna say is a really good choice, and I highly recommend it if you want to start out with a really good drone without feeling the need to upgrade to the next version as soon as the next version comes out. I would love to know which drone that is your favorite of these two and why you would prefer to have either or. Do drop a comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked this video, and if you did, thank you. I will see you in the next video. Peter från Sweden, saying goodbye.